This is session 4 in the Acceptance and Commitment Therapy series. In this session, I would like to introduce a few techniques in the ACT model. So there are 3 important concepts or 3 important components in ACT that help us to be more psychologically flexible. The first one is opening up to our experiences, being present. That includes mindfulness. Doing what matters includes our values. So in order to be more flexible psychologically, we need to open up, be present, and do what matters. This is also called the ACT triflex. So opening up involves, or opening up, it helps you to be able to separate, unhook, detach from thoughts and feelings, make room and allow them to flow freely. There are 2 techniques in opening up. One is called expansion, the other is called diffusion. Expansion is mainly used for dealing with or sitting with emotions, whereas diffusion is mainly used to step back from our thoughts. These are the steps in expansion. So let's do this exercise together. So I'll read out the instructions, then you can do it with me. Sit comfortably in a relaxed position. The first step is to observe. Bring your awareness to the sensations in your body. Take a few seconds to scan yourself from head to toe. Notice what you're feeling and where. As you do this, you will probably notice several uncomfortable sensations. Look for the one that bothers you most. Focus your attention on that sensation. Observe it with curiosity, like a scientist who has discovered some interesting new phenomenon. Observe it carefully. Notice where it starts and where it ends. If you had to draw a line around the sensation, what would it look like? Is it on the surface of the body, or inside you, or both? How far inside you does it go? Where is it the most intense? Where is it the weakest? How is it different in the center from around the edges? Is there any pulsing or vibration within it? Is it light or heavy, still or in motion, warm or cool? Breathe into and around the sensation as if making extra space for it. Begin with a few deep breaths. The slower the better. And make sure you fully empty your lungs before breathing in. Slow, deep breathing is important because it lowers the level of tension in your body. It won't get rid of your feelings, but will provide a center of calm within you. It's like an anchor in the midst of an emotional storm. So breathe slowly and deeply and imagine that you're breathing directly into the sensation. Feel your breath flowing into and around it, as if you're somehow creating extra space within your body. Loosen up around the sensation. Give it some room to move. Allow the sensation to be there even if you don't like it or want it. In other words, let it be. When your mind starts commenting on what's happening, just say thank you, mind, and come back to observing. Of course, you may find this difficult. You may feel a strong urge to fight with it or push it away. If so, just acknowledge this urge without giving in to it. Once you have acknowledged the urge, bring your attention back to the sensation itself. Don't try to get rid of the sensation or change it. If it changes by itself, that's okay. If it doesn't change, that's okay too. Changing or getting rid of it is not the goal. The goal is to make peace with it, to let it be there, even if you don't like it or want it. You can gently bring yourself back to the room when you're ready. So at the end of this exercise, you can say to yourself, I don't like this feeling, but I have room for it. It is unpleasant, but I can accept it. Diffusion is basically a term for unhooking from your thoughts. Because what are thoughts basically? Thoughts are basically just words, sounds, stories, bits of language passing through our heads. Thoughts may or may not be true, so we don't have to believe them. Thoughts are not orders, so we don't have to obey them. Thoughts may or may not be important. We pay attention only if they're helpful. Thoughts may or may not be wise. So some of the helpful thoughts, how do we decide whether a thought is helpful or not? Is asked by asking yourself, what would I get for buying into the story? Does this thought help me to take effective action? Does it help me to be the person I want to be? Does it help me to connect with what I truly value? So, diffusion is basically looking at thoughts rather than from thoughts, noticing thoughts rather than becoming caught up in thoughts, letting thoughts come and go rather than holding on to them. The aim of diffusion is to decrease our attachment to our inner experiences, reduce the believability of thoughts, decrease the influence of thoughts on our behaviors and experiences, and increase our ability to be present and take effective action. So there are several diffusion techniques that we can have a look at, and there are videos on YouTube that you can watch to understand the different or practice diffusion. So I shall dedicate the next session to diffusion techniques. Otherwise, this session will become too long. So thank you for staying with me so far on this, and then I will, the next session, we'll talk more about diffusion.